I can hear. Hey, everybody, we're live. Douglas, I can hear you.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you just fine. Joe can hear you now. You guys are all set.
Cool.
I can't hear
Except
them.
she just left.
Oh, okay.
Joe,
you've disappeared.
Am I live?
You can't see.
Yes,
can't see your picture, Joe.
you're live too.
Hey, I can hear you.
Good.
Yeah, Joe, you were just on, but now we have a screen up. So if they can
Video.
just bring you back live.
Oh,
there you are.
Yeah, we can see you.
Hey. How are you? I'm glad to see you're alive and eating.
Absolutely. I'm about to go out in number 10.
Wow, you're going up for number 10. You go, Doug. We're all supporting you.
Into double figures.
And Helen is running with a couple of her team from ICC, so she'll be on running with you and really I want you to feel the love and support from everyone down here, down under.
Thank you very much. And are you on for 2 hours?
We are, that's right.
Fantastic. Well,
we've got all of your friends and some not friends, but new friends potentially.
Soon to be
Thank
friends.
you.
Soon to be friends, that's right. So it's morning here, it's dark there.
Yeah, it's 1 a.m.
Wow, and what are you eating?
I'm eating some crisps.
Okay, well don't you dare fall down for us. You
No,
make sure
no.
your levels are up and you stay well.
Absolutely. Well, I've not got any crisps left because Trevor Foley ate them all.
Well, you can tell Trevor we just we've got his brother coming on to speak, and that's Matt Pearce. Trevor's brother will be on to speak later on in the discussion.
Well, if Matt's there in an hour, I'll come back on and say hello.
Well, that'd be fun.
Cool. All right.
So,
well, nice to see you.
Thank you, and big support from everyone down under.
Thank you, Joe. I'll see you in an hour.
Okay, see you in an hour.
Okay. Bye. How do we come out?
Just leave, yeah.
And here we are talking with Helen M from the International Convention Centre in Sydney, and she's supported by some of her team. Helen, I'll let you do the introductions.
Who
Hi,
are you
everyone.
running with today?
And welcome to ICC Sydney. You can see our exhibition halls in the background. And with me, I have Barbara Addison, who's our Client Services Manager. And we will have someone else popping in down the track, but he's caught in traffic, but I will catch up. Don't worry.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, you've got to run for an hour, which is hard. How is Doug running for 24 hours?
Well, he's doing a 5K. So he's running 24 5K runs. So in between, he's able to rest. But I have a feeling that the rest time is going to probably be less and less as the time wears on.
I can't imagine running for 5 kilometres in an hour anyway, not alone doing it times 24. So I hope he does get 5 or 10 minutes, bathroom break at least in between. So Helen, how cold is it down there at the ICC at the moment?
Look, I think it's about 10 degrees at the moment. So there's a bit of a breeze, but it's quite nice. It was meant to rain this morning, but we don't have much cloud cover, so that's good.
That's
Otherwise,
great.
I wouldn't have got my hair wet.
Now, after your
That's not
run,
allowed.
we're hoping that you will eventually run into the studio and come and
I
have
will,
a chat to me. So that'll be great. But it's
Okay.
so good that you guys are doing this and supporting Doug. And hopefully everyone in Sydney will reach into their pockets and support you guys as well with
Absolutely.
donations. It's such a great effort. And it's a real call out to the entire industry worldwide to say how we've all done it tough, but we are there still and we're supporting each other and helping each other to reopen. Helen, how do
And
you
we're
feel?
safely reopening.
Safely
and
reopen.
I feel great
reopening.
and ready to go.
Excellent to
I hope my
see.
knees get me there.
I hope your knees take you there. At least you've got someone to run with you. And is there
That's
a
right.
message?
She's my motivation. Yeah, we're doing it. Yeah.
And what can you say to Doug?
Doug, it's a great cause, and thank you for pulling this together. And it's just amazing that we can do it, on a global scale like this. It's so much fun.
It is a
thank
lot of
you.
fun.
This
Good
is
luck.
truly a hybrid event. If you think about it, it's really a hybrid event because we've got people interacting live, and we're also I'm in Vegas. You're in
Yep.
Sydney, and here we are communicating online and doing these things. But you're still, there are groups of people that are still gathering together to celebrate our industry and to raise money
Yeah.
for such great causes.
That's right.
So, on behalf of everybody that's not running, thank you for doing so.
Yeah, thank
Pleasure.
you.
Yeah.
That would not be me. No.
Now look after yourselves. Have a nice run.
Okay. I'll
I
check
can
back
see
in on the other side.
absolutely, and I will see you back in the studio when you're ready.
Okay.
Okay.
Ciao.
And enjoy the run.
Bye, girls. See you soon. And don't forget where to donate, everybody. You can see it
That's right.
now.
We've got Helen. So again, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, we're fundraising for 3 very worthwhile charities. And this is the Event Industry Backyard Ultra. It's our good friend Douglas Emsley, who's the CEO of Tarsus, has taken this upon himself, and it's become a global phenomenon. And so we're raising money for the Meetings Industry Fund, Event Well, and the Indian Red Cross.
He might have to do it every
we're very,
year,
very
Steph.
excited.
It's so
Pardon me?
successful. It's so successful. He might have to do it every year.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. We're gonna have to ask him. We'll have to ask him at the top of the hour when he joins us.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things. I'm sure he'll be
Maybe,
thrilled.
Maybe ask him tomorrow when he's done and he's slept for a few hours. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah,
I think-
maybe not
I
ask
think,
him this second.
No. But it's so incredible how many people all over the world. One of the first runners this morning with the entire group who was running in his own country was the head of the CEO of Tarsus, China.
Wow, that's
Joined
really
them in
great.
the first run.
And
it
that's
was
what I
11
love.
o'clock in the evening.
It's a true blended
It's very
event.
interesting.
It's a true blended event. Hey, that was great seeing Helen start off like that. I think it's fantastic that they're trying to encourage him and run alongside him. I mean, I don't know how Doug's doing this for so long, but it's pretty impressive. Anyway, I know that the rest of the world has been behind him as well. Steph, can you let us know how that's going?
Yeah, it's been going for quite a few hours. We've just had a couple of hour break, but Doug has continued to run with some people down in the UK. I believe it's been at the what's the name of the company? I just of course spaced on it, but I'll come back to that in a bit. But he's had people running with him in person overnight as well because there's such a huge time difference. So we started out this morning in Las Vegas, where I am. The World of Concrete is the first major show to open. It's an Informa show. And they also opened the West Hall of the Convention Center, which is a brand new multi-billion-dollar, 1.4 million square foot, so I guess 140,000 square meter building. It was supposed to open a year ago, over a year ago, and it finally has its first show.
And were you down there at World of Concrete?
Oh, no. No, I'm going to go tomorrow. Too much cheer today. But Danica Tourmalin, one of our good friends who's an industry journalist, was there covering it live. And our governor was there to do the red carpet opening and the whole thing. Charlie McCurdy flew in. Nancy Walsh was there. Some friends, some mutual friends.
Some great friends.
We've been around the world with them, haven't we?
Yeah.
And we have. But it's been really fun. It's been good. And then Mexico was right ahead of us. But there was an industry panel talking about advocacy, because in the US it's been a big deal, as well as in Europe. And then Kai spoke for a little while. He was at his office in Bonn, but he's headed to Paris next week. And he talked a bit about Bala, a dear Indian friend of ours who passed from COVID. So
yeah, it really brings it home when something like that happens. Such a shock for all of us. And I know the entire industry is sending their support and thoughts to his entire family.
So as a result, they added a third fundraiser, a third recipient for the money that's come in. And it's the Indian Red Cross.
Wow,
to help
that's great.
Have money to be able to purchase additional supplies, oxygen, and PPE, and the things that they need to try to help down there, because it's just been horrific, unfortunately.
So tell me a little bit more about Vegas. I mean, Vegas has been Vegas, but with nothing happening until now. How does it feel to have it all coming back online?
It's very exciting. It's very exciting. So we've been 100% open since June 1st. And in fact, when we shut down a year ago, March, the Strip, they shut down all of the casinos and they were all closed. They drained the water out of the fountains except for the Bellagio. They kept the water there. And people actually used it as a bike path.
Wow.
You would see families out there riding at all hours of the night and day on their bicycles up and down the Strip.
Amazing.
Like Hollywood should have had people there filming it, because it was completely surreal. It felt like the return of like a zombie movie or something. It was just so weird, because traffic was limited to like one lane each way, because everybody was on bicycles being distant. And then you would have a few bars that managed to stay open with to-go packages. So then you had drunk people on their bicycles trying to drink and drive at the same time.
It's so weird to think of a place like Vegas.
Only in Vegas.
Only in Vegas.
Yeah.
But it's just so weird to think that a place like Vegas, that used to be really one of the main centers for the events industry worldwide, is just closed down for a year. Yeah. I don't think I could have ever dreamt that would have happened.
Well, we actually started reopening a year ago, June, where they let the casinos reopen, and then they were at 25% capacity with a lot of different security guidelines and safety guidelines and plexiglass between the slot machines and all kinds of crazy things. But now all of that is gone. The casinos were allowed to open at 100% if they had vaccine compliance of at least 80% of the people on property that work there.
Okay, so let me ask you a little bit about vaccine compliance. How are they testing for that? What are people?
They're not.
Okay, so what are people getting in America to show that you're vaccine compliant? Do you get a little piece of paper, or what do you get? Oops,
you get this. You get a little piece of paper. It has like your VIN numbers and when you received your vaccine. So in my case, I had the Pfizer, and I got one on March 13th and my second on April 3rd. So I've been free and clear for quite some time. I actually got my second one at the Las Vegas Convention Center just because I missed it so much. I went and queued up to get mine. But they let the hospitality workers here were considered essential. Like right after people that were 70 and above, and all the first responders, people in grocery stores, those folks, then hospitality workers were allowed in to get theirs right away. So it's been pretty good.
Is anybody talking about some kind of digital vaccine passport or anything over there? I mean, we're wondering how that's all going to happen here.
I think it's going to have to come from the federal government, to be honest with you. And with President Biden, God, I love saying that so much. President Biden, instead of the other guy, the old guy, the old fat dude. I'm so happy about that. But he's over in the UK, and I know that's one of the things that they're going to be talking about with the G7. As far as I know, is that's going to be one of the topics of conversation, because the Europeans are trying to put something together that way. So you upload it once, and then you have a digital certificate.
Yeah, that'd be much
so
better.
We're hoping for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're hoping for that. But no, the casinos are open. We had a holiday weekend here. Our Memorial Day was a couple of weekends ago, and the traffic from California is dried in, a lot of it. And literally at 8 o'clock in the morning of the holiday, there was a 6-mile backup to the border of California. And then a half hour later, it was a 9-mile backup. So all those people that thought that they'd beat everybody else and leave early, paid for it in traffic. But it's good to see. We're just excited to have shows. We have TICE next week at Mandalay Bay. So for those of you that don't know, we have 3 major convention centers here that are all over 100,000 square meters. So we have the Las Vegas Convention Center, which is now the 2nd largest in the country. We have the Sands Expo, and then we have Mandalay Bay. And so, yeah, it's big business here. So people are just beyond excited to have it restarted.
Oh, I bet they are. And I think that's a whole bit about why Doug's doing the run, right? Just on the vaccines, before we go off that, I've had my first AstraZeneca. AstraZeneca, you have to have a few months apart. So I'm getting my second one at the beginning of July. And I'm just hoping that everybody listening to this is doing it as well, so that we can reopen the world and start traveling and going to events again. That'll be the best thing. And that's why Doug's doing this run, right? He wants to raise awareness.
It's to raise funds and raise awareness for people in need, because it's been such a difficult year. So many people were made redundant, is the phrase that I guess is used in a lot of the world. We call it fired or let go or laid off. And so Eventwell is a really great organization that has been supplying, mental health needs and trying to address those things, or somebody needs an emergency loan so they don't get turned out of their apartment or their flat. They can do that, or to buy groceries, or to pay a doctor's bill, or to see a psychologist or a psychiatrist for depression. Because I think we've all been pretty depressed over the last year.
It's been really hard for everybody. But to take this on physically for Doug and run for 24 hours, I mean, he's a fit guy. I know he goes into lots of biking marathons, so it's amazing that he's doing it. And I think having everyone in the world support and giving their views is fantastic. We've done it really tough this side of the world too, and we'll be speaking to people today who'll give their opinions and so on. So that'll be great. But I think having the support from the industry worldwide is just really special.
I think he couldn't believe the outpouring. He could not believe the outpouring. And even Charterhouse, which is their financial backers, donated $7,000.
Well, that sounds fantastic, Steph. I mean, I'm very excited. Hi, everyone. I have the pleasure of introducing one of the strong female leaders of our industry. Her name is Claudia Sagripanti, and she's the CEO of the Exhibitions and Events Association of Australia. Claudia is with me today, and how are you?
I am good. I'm good. Excited to be here.
Isn't it great that we're here on a worldwide effort to support this industry?
I love the fact that it's a global industry and that we're all in contact. It's that very personal touch, which I think is amazing of this industry.
It is. Now, you've been in quite a few different industries. One of the things I love about this industry is that even though it's global, we're all really good friends. So it's not unusual for me to have Doug ring up and go, hey, I'm going to run for 24 hours. What are you doing? Are you finding that as well? How do you describe our industry?
Oh, well, I was in the industry for a few years a while ago. So I know conferences and small exhibitions really well. And that's how I got back into the industry with those contacts. So I'm a big believer in collaborating and network. So I love that about the industry, and the fact that you can ring anyone up and they will give you the time of day and serious consideration. So it's fantastic. And particularly the collaboration. I mean, in the last week, we've had the lockdown in Victoria, and one of the organisers there couldn't get to Brisbane. So she rang looking for some casual staff. One of her competitors, helped her out, which is fantastic. And I love that about the industry.
I love that about the industry too. And just for those who don't know, Claudia, what day did you actually join the EEAA?
Well, I started in mid-February, so my first week was the week of AIM. And
that was just before hell broke loose around the world.
Absolutely. We were a bit concerned, but not too alarmed at that point. And then a couple of weeks later, it just
all fell apart.
It did. We had that the government coming with the restriction on mass gatherings of over 500 people, and it just went from there. Yes, it did.
I mean, talk about being dropped in at the deep end. It's like sink or swim. Thank God you were able to swim. So your time, which is just absolutely flat out for you from morning to dusk, and you're doing a lot of dealings and lobbying to the government.
That's right. Well, look, there are a couple of parts to that, because the EEAA is one of the founding members of BECA, the Business Events Council of Australia. So that is our peak body in Canberra, the federal government. But there's a bit of a vacuum at state government level, and because of the structure here in Australia, a lot of the decisions are made at the state government level. So it's been really interesting to navigate those.
Interesting is a good
word. Well, I try to be charitable here, but the differences on a state by state level, and the different approaches that each state government has. So it's been tricky.
So the government did put up some funding for the events industry. They had, I think it was 20 or 30 million that they put up.
Yeah, 50 million.
50 million.
Yep.
Okay, explain that original funding.
So that was announced by the federal government towards the end of last year, and there was some very heavy lobbying that was being done in Canberra at the time. And a few of us were invited to a private meeting with the Prime Minister, which was fantastic, and that really led to the establishment of this program. So it was $50 million, and it was available to attendees and exhibitors for various events. Luckily, a lot of the exhibitions became approved and were on the approved events schedule. So it's been really good. We've had some very positive feedback on that it has made a big difference to people feeling comfortable and then willing to sign a contract and turn up to an event. So it's been really good on that side. But it has had its problems. The industry hasn't had the involvement that we would have liked to had in structuring it. So it's been a little bit difficult, but all in all, it's been a fantastic boost for the industry, and to get federal government recognition has been wonderful.
So that was given to the exhibitors and visitors, and then hopefully that would trickle down throughout the whole industry as that money went through.
That's right. So the idea is that with those payments coming through, the organisers would benefit, and particularly the suppliers and all those people that are further down the supply chain.
So have we gone through the 50 million yet?
Apparently we have. So look, there is nothing that formal that has been announced. There's been, I think, because it was so slow to start with, I think the government department that was monitoring that has had some difficulties in it. But I was at an event on the weekend. Dan Tehan, who's the Minister for Trade and Tourism, was there, and I did ask him about that. He assured me that there will be an announcement in the next couple of weeks. So from my understanding is that it has been oversubscribed. So, which is, again, great for the industry. It probably wasn't enough. And obviously we're looking at what we do next.
And I know that we did try and get more.
We did.
But we missed out at this time, and not just the events industry, but also the tourism industry missed out as well.
Look, it's been really difficult. Obviously, you know, there've been many industry sectors that have been impacted by the pandemic, and staff particularly, you know, skilled staff and casual staff. So it has not been an easy decision. And, you know, traditionally the business event sector has not had a high profile with the government at all. So we've started from a very low base, if you like, to build up those relationships with government at various levels. And while the industry itself hasn't got the support that it was so looking for, I think we've done really well in just getting the attention of government. We've got a lot more work to do in terms of getting case studies and data. I mean, Becca said the Business Events Council pulled together a survey in March last year, and we've done a number of surveys throughout the year as well. So that all helps in telling the story, but we need to be diligent in telling our story and proving why we're so important, as you know, proving what the economic multiplier effects are. And also one of the other things too is that it's not just about trade shows, it's also very much about consumer shows, and the spend that's done on the show floor and afterwards is really important as well.
We've got some organisers that we're going to be talking to about that. But you did touch lightly on the people leaving and resources. I know you've got a good relationship with some of our tertiary education institutions. Can you tell us about what those opportunities are?
Oh, look, it's as you were saying before, it's not just business events. It's all the tourism, all the parts of the tourism and hospitality sector. And again, at this event on the weekend, which was the Australian Tourism Exchange Council, they were talking so much about the lack of staff in CBDs and in regional areas, and it really has the potential to impact on the service delivery. So, you know, it's something that we really need to solve as much as we can. What that means then is that immigration is a high priority, and again, that was brought to the attention of the Minister. So that's international students, working holiday makers, as well as skilled migrants. And so there's a big campaign on at the moment that is being coordinated by the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and you know the EEAA is supportive of that also. So it is a huge problem. And we had an information exchange a couple of months ago talking about skills and the impact that the lack of skills will have on operational capability in this sector. Again, it's a huge issue. So one of the things that we've been looking at is how the EEAA can assist in bridging that gap, particularly with casual labour, in terms of building up exhibitions, laying carpet, all of those things that need to be done. So I've been talking to TAFE, and a couple of the other tertiary education providers about bringing students on. So still quite a lot more work to do on that, but it's certainly a topic that is really close to our hearts and a big priority. So filling those immediate gaps, but bringing people in, because in some cases we've lost, 50, 60, 90% of staff who potentially will not be coming back into this industry. So, we lose the capacity, we lose the capability, and then, we lose the IP as well. So it's a huge issue, big priority for us.
It is a big priority, I think, for a lot of organisers, and honestly, every sector of our industry, including all the suppliers. How do you ramp back up again? And hopefully we'll be talking to a couple of organisers who might have some ideas on that. In the meantime, I keep getting asked by our internationals, when are we going to be allowed to travel internationally or having international borders open to come in. Have you heard anything about that?
Oh, look, it was a big topic at this meeting, and it has been over the last few months. I mean, obviously, we're a really safe place to be at the moment. And, we really feel for our international colleagues who are not in the same fortunate position that we are. We've our events are up and we're able to mingle, we're able to be here in person, as I said, and really feel for our colleagues who aren't. For us, and from what I understand from the discussions with government at all levels, it comes down to vaccinations, and obviously the vaccination program is underway in Australia, and again there are state differences. So one of the things that we would like to do as an industry representative is to encourage all our members and their staff to vaccinate.
Oh yeah, big thing. Please do. If you haven't been vaccinated, go over and get it done, because that is the way we open up borders. I've had my AstraZeneca first shot.
I've had mine.
Go, Claudia, that's great. Nothing happened to us.
No, here we are.
It's a miracle. I think part of the problem is that the media have frightened the Australians. Quite often I'm speaking to our international colleagues, and, they'll say, oh, I heard Melbourne's been shut down again. And I'll say, yes, they found another 8 cases, and they say 800, and I go, no, 8. And they go, oh my God, you've closed a city down over that. But at least we are safe here. We are safe. However, because we're safe and the chance of getting COVID is so low, then people are, I don't know if I'll get the vaccine. I'll just wait and see.
That's right.
And it's not fair, is it?
No, it's not. Look, COVID, what COVID?
Well, that's right.
COVID, particularly in some parts of Sydney. So, it's really difficult. It's been a huge topic of discussion, and even at our Global Exhibitions Day event last week, we touched on that topic of, will there be a vaccination passport, or will there be a mandatory requirement that if you attend a show that you need to show evidence of being vaccinated? I don't think we will get to that point, and certainly the venues will not be leading that. We'll respond as we have done to support the government and various regulations, but it is important. I don't think that we will get to a stage of allowing international travel, either of Australians going overseas or encouraging those, particularly the skilled workers and the business travellers, until we've got a good base of vaccinations across the Australian population.
I think for everybody out there, they were talking about incentivising people to get the vaccine, and they were talking about offering a beer to Australians. Have a beer on the government if you get a vaccine. That is so typical Aussie. Whereas for me, I think an incentive would be, if you have your vaccine and you're fully vaccinated, then you're allowed to travel interstate or overseas. And interstate travel, you don't have to quarantine, and international travel, you can quarantine for, say, a week maximum at your own home. To me, if the government's out there listening, that would be a way better incentive than a beer. But hey, what do you think about that?
French champagne would be my thing. But look, it's particularly with this industry, we've had an excellent risk and safety record. We are very supportive, as said, of what the government priorities are. We understand that health must come first, and so we're very keen to support that message. And some of our exhibition venues, as you know, are hosting vaccination hubs, and again, we support that. We support that message.
Yes, Melbourne's doing that right now.
Well, that's exactly right. Here in New South Wales, where we are, it's a very much a business as usual focus. Again, which is fantastic. So we are allowed to, we can go to restaurants, we can go to pubs, we can drink standing up, we can attend events. And what we've seen from all the events that have happened, and that's, you know, trade shows, consumer shows, the conferences, the conventions that have happened, is that people are so keen to meet in person.
So keen to meet.
It's really heartening to see exactly what people are prioritising, which is going out and doing all those lovely things.
I guess we're humans at heart.
Yes, exactly. And, you know, the only way that you can build those trusted business relationships is by meeting in person. So one of the, you know, there are a number of recommendations that we're putting to the federal government. There is the Reimagining the Visitor Economy to 2030 inquiry that's going on at the moment, and the AAA is working on its submission, as is Becca. So, you know, vaccination, you know, obviously we support risk and safety, and we've actually just announced or in the process of announcing a pilot with Bespoke Safety out of Melbourne to provide work health and safety consultancy and training services. So that's one of the things. Sustainability, you know, it's all part of looking at how we can grow the sector and make it really robust for 2030. So there are a lot of initiatives, and as I said, you know, that safety is one, and supporting our people is another one.
Absolutely. And of course, if you do want to know anything more about the Exhibition and Events Association of Australia, just go to eeaa.com.au. And you can always also write to Claudia. She is very supportive, and we are very lucky that she's been there to support the Australian industry since the outbreak of COVID. Claudia, thank you so much for coming in today.
Jo, it's been a pleasure. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Hey, that was a great segment. And now, Steph, how can people donate and help support this incredible feat, Doug's?
Well, it's really easy. We have a GoFundMe page set up. So it's GoFundMe. It's gofund.me/95A45E89. It's going to be scrolling along the bottom, or you can look it up under Backyard Ultra. If you look up Backyard Ultra and you Google that, it'll take you to the GoFundMe page as well.
Okay.
So we've got a whole lot of technology set up. Our good friends at ASP actually set up the website.
Great. Well,
so they've been very, very active.
Please keep supporting. I mean, it's great seeing the money running in. I think it's fabulous. I know Doug's been blown away. So let me introduce our next speaker is Brian Thomas, who is the Managing Director of Reed Australia. And the great thing about Brian is he's also worked in many of the different Reed offices, including throughout Asia, China, and even in Istanbul. And I know he's going to have a lot of very interesting things to say in regard to the Australian situation and the Australian industry, as well as how Reed is coping with the recovery and rollout of reopening our industry. So I am looking forward to chatting to him. And Steph, you are able to ask questions as well, of course.
Now, I'm gonna leave it in your capable hands and bow out and let you conduct the interview yourself.
Okay. And over to Brian now. our next guest is somebody I've known for 27 years.
Hey, everybody who's
Ryan
live.
Thomas,
We'll
he's
be back
the
here in just a second,
CEO,
as soon as they
Managing
can get the
Director
stream
of
back up.
Read Australia.
See you in a bit.
And I've known you since 1994. Who would have believed it?
Yeah, hasn't that gone quickly, Joe?
Hasn't it? And actually seen you in lots of different capacities here in Australia, but also in Asia, in China, and even in Istanbul. I remember
that's right.
running into you in the staff
In
canteen.
the staff canteen, yes.
But it's so good. Thank you so much for your support today for this. It's wonderful that the entire industry around the world is actually getting behind Doug's run, but actually getting behind what it means to be part of the events industry and how much we've all struggled. And I know Reed is one of the leaders of the world in that regard. How are you going here in Australia?
Yeah, Joe, hasn't it been tough? You know, we talk about since 1994 being in the industry, and
I was only 20.
yeah, I was about 24. Yes, but nothing that we'd been through had really prepared us for COVID. COVID's been completely different for all the industries. It's really been a big impact on the global industry, a really big impact on the local industry. We've seen shows close. We've seen people being laid off. So it has been a tough time, but it's built a real resilience in amongst the teams that remain. And I think the one real positive is that our customers want us to get back to running events. You know, the recent surveys, 80% of our exhibitors and 80% of our visitors want us back face to face immediately. So it's going to be good times once we start to open the borders again, and it'll be good to see some consistent shows.
Yeah.
Because, you know, in Australia with the border closures, we sort of stop start, and it's causing a lot of dents the confidence of our customers to actually book shows. So we've got a lot of people that want to come to the show but are holding off their bookings because of the borders opening and closing.
How do you manage that? I mean, it must be so hard to keep your team up and, you know, positive, and to keep all your clients positive. It's got to be one of the biggest challenges you've ever faced.
Yeah, it is. And I think one of the strengths of the exhibition industry is the people that work in the industry, and the biggest strength for Reed Exhibitions are the people that are working in this industry. And in fact, you watch our team rally. As soon as there's a problem, like we have to move a show or we have to transfer dates, you can see the team rally and get the job done. But when we went back on site in February, it was great to see the smiles on everyone's faces.
Was that your first show in February this year?
Yeah, first show in about a year. Our last show was February last year, and then we went. Actually, we moved it from February to April. And to have our team running shows again, you could see the smiles, you could see the buzz. It just lifted the mood of everybody. But I think we forget that when you move a show, it's not just replicating the work that you've already done. You've got to undo all the work that you've done, talk to all of our customers, and then redo everything. So it's increasing the workload on a small team 3 or 4 times. So
does it worry you? I mean, we've all lost staff, whether we had to put them off or whether they've left to find other industries. How are you thinking about reopening? We were just talking to Claudia, and having that whole skill shortage, is this going to be an issue for you going forward, or how are you coping with that?
Yeah, I think what we've lost is a lot of skilled immigrants coming into Australia, which used to fill some of the roles like our sales roles, etc. But when we downsized for the COVID impact, we actually had a really good senior management team coming through in staff that had been, you know, at the next level. So we've been very fortunate that we've had our senior management teams completely changed, but the team members that have stepped into the senior roles have done a wonderful job, and they're doing a wonderful job. They're learning as they go. But as we go forward, as we're losing staff now, we're finding recruitment to be very difficult. I think we've got around about 9 jobs that are open at the moment, and it's taking an average around 44 days to fill those roles, so it makes it very difficult.
So I think the EEAA job board might be getting busy soon.
Yeah, it has a few of our jobs on there as well.
So you said that you started reopening at the beginning of this year. and your reopening. I know that we were involved with your some of your trade shows as well as your public shows. The public shows are really taking off, right?
Yeah, but the trade shows are also taking off. And when you say reopen, we stayed open all the way
Yes.
through. We maintained 90 staff for the entire period, which was
That's
phenomenal
amazing.
that Relics gave us that support to do that. So we reopened with our shows in April, and we've got our next show is in July. And but what we're finding with trade shows, and you saw it on the weekend, you had Diversified do a really wonderful show. You had national media do a wonderful show. The customers and the trade visitors want to attend. So
Yeah.
it's not going to be a problem running shows. Once they open us up fully, it won't be a problem running shows. We'll see some really good growth coming through in the next couple of years.
Absolutely. You know, it's funny, this industry, we always say it's about the human face-to-face. We talk the talk, we walk the talk, but, you know, to see that really it is, I mean, having so many people flood in, desperate to have some of that personal contact, it's, I think it really makes you feel good about what we're doing.
Yeah, it does. And it wasn't just the new visitors that come through, it was the reconnections. You could see exhibitors touching base with customers that they've had for a long time, but they hadn't seen them for 16 months. So you could see it on the floor. You could see that buzz, not only from our
Yeah.
staff, but from our customers. They really
Yeah.
enjoyed being face to face.
Yeah. And so what are your plans in safety? Are you relying on the venues, or are you getting really involved with that beforehand in discussions with your exhibitors? How are you doing that safety and health rollout?
I think we're blessed with Steve and our ops team. They do a wonderful job, but it's definitely a teamwork. It's not the venues that are looking after safety. It's not the organisers looking after safety on their own. It's us working together, because the worst thing that could happen is something to go wrong at one of our shows and have the government looking at our shows saying they're not safe, because they are safe. They're as safe as going to a supermarket. So we're working
Safer, probably,
Yeah, I
because
think
we
so.
know exactly who's there.
Exactly right. So we're working very closely with the venues. And I think it's I think one good thing that's come out of the COVID experience is the venues, organisers, and suppliers working much closer together and understanding each other's issues.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing. That teamwork, you know, our industry's always been made up of three specific parties, and
Yeah.
that is the organisers, the venues, and all the service providers. And, you know, now really coming together, it makes me feel good as a service provider that we really are working as a team.
Yeah, I agree.
And so talking about that, we've quite a few companies have had to pivot what they do. I hate the word pivot, but I just want to say that up front. But how have you been going in the dabbling with the online, more hybrid, or as Freeman likes to call it, blended events?
Blended events. Look, I think our industry was heading down that path anyway. We're slowly going down that
Yeah.
path because it's what our customers ultimately want us to do. I think what it's done is it's really accelerated, 10 years worth of experiments into 1 year. And I think what we've found is that we've got some pilot projects that are working really well, and they'll continue. We've got some other pilot projects that haven't been what our customers want. So I think at the end of the day, there's a real need for face-to-face events, but I think we can enhance our face-to-face experience and also the value for our customers by really adopting, the virtual worlds and expanding the reach for our customers into those people that maybe want to come, but they can't come, or maybe are overseas and the cost is too big a barrier. So I think it's here to stay. We've just got to do what our customers want us to do and make sure
Absolutely.
that we get it right.
It's all about the customer, and the customer at the end of the day is the visitor, right?
Oh, both.
The
Visitor,
attendee,
yeah.
the attendee, the visitor, the delegate, and of course, all of our exhibitors
Yeah.
as well. So what about, you talking about different pilots working and not working. Can you give us any insight into what has worked?
Probably can't give you the exact
Okay,
detail,
that's
but
fine.
anything that makes the connection between our visitor and the exhibitor easier. Yeah, anything that can match them based on their needs as opposed to just a random visit. So anything that's working as I said, to bring the visitor and the exhibitor closer together and make it easier for them is working.
Have you looked at pre-scheduled appointments and hosted buyers?
Yeah, definitely. I know that's working very well overseas, and some of our bigger shows, that is a real hit. In Australia, because the shows aren't so big and you can get around to see most of your customers, there is a limited scope for that, but we're definitely introducing that to the shows that need it.
And I guess different industries respond differently.
Correct.
So you've got a PAX show coming up.
Yes.
And they're all online enthusiasts because they're all gamers. And in fact, they're very clever at technology. And so when the site went live, you had 18,000 people waiting in the online waiting room to get in and get a ticket. So I would imagine that that kind of an industry is far more interested in that interaction online, whereas you might have something like your gift show, which potentially are more smaller businesses. They want to be able to come on site versus being too much online. Do you see that, or is that being too simplistic?
Yeah, look, one thing that you're spot on is every industry is completely different. Like PAX, they live and thrive online, but as you walk into PAX in the venue, it says welcome home.
Oh,
And that's what they feel, because it's a community that doesn't get together all that often. And so they see PAX as a real opportunity for that community to come, share ideas, meet new friends, reconnect with old friends. So the face-to-face element really enhances the online world that they live in. But when you get onto the gift side that you just mentioned, the gift buyers, they want to touch and feel. They want to actually feel the quality of the product. Yeah. They can look at it online, they can source online, but when it really comes down to buying the quantities of product that they buy for the year, they really want to be able to pick it up and look at the quality, look at the colour. That's
right. I mean, we are humans, and isn't that all about trust? It's funny, it's harder to trust somebody that you're just speaking to online than it is when you're standing in front of them and talking to them and having eye contact. And as you said, smelling a product, whatever it happens to be, it builds that trust as well. So I guess that's why we all love our industry. And so are there anything you're seeing coming from overseas in particular could be interesting for us here in Australia? Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think one of the benefits of that the larger companies like Reed, Informa, etc. have is that we share all that knowledge. So if something happens in a show over in China, we know about it very quickly, so we can trial it in Australia. I think one of the products that we're trialing at the moment is our Imperia products, where visitors can walk on and scan themselves onto a stand. So that if they don't feel comfortable with that interaction, they can just scan and get the product's information sent to them. Or if the stand is really busy, they can go and scan, go and do something else and come back and get the information. So I think it's all about convenience for the customer. That's right. That whole customer experience. That's right. Because sometimes exhibitors, God love them, don't follow up their leads. No. And so nice to be able to give the visitors an opportunity to make sure that they have the information that they're after. We've all seen that, the booth, after breakdown, the booths are pulled down and there's a pile of cards on the floor. It's a nightmare, I know. And so what do you think is going to be your challenge now as we're coming out of this nightmare that has been COVID? Yeah, I think the biggest challenge right in the short term, and I think it's the same challenge that we've got for all of our suppliers, smaller suppliers, and it's probably a challenge that the rest of the globe is going to face as they start coming out. It's the stop-start nature. Yeah. If they just said, here's a green light and we can run shows again, I think we'd be up and running and our business would be booming again. We'd have to change a few things. We'd have a bit of a dip in the size of the shows, but we'd be running again and driving the economy again, because that's what our shows do. We drive the economy. But the problem we've got is that with, like you were talking before with Claudia, about 8 people in Victoria can shut down that whole city. And so we're preparing for shows in a month, 2 months' time. And what we're doing is we're having to hold back deposits, hold back investments, just to make sure, because we're not sure
that a show in 2 months' time is going to run. We had a recent case where we had a venue that was taken over as a vaccine centre.
Yes.
So we lost our venue 8 weeks before the show. We had to find another venue for that, which means talking to all of our customers. So the biggest challenge for us is the stop-start nature. And we talked about it earlier, is recruitment and keeping our best people in our industry.
Yeah, stop starting is so hard.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked a little bit about the fact that your February show was put to April, and that was part of the stop start situation. But you managed to release it in April, and it was successful.
Yeah, and the exhibitor NPS went up by 30 points. So they were so happy to be back on site. Yeah.
And that's because they just really need the event, right?
Yeah, and also there's a little bit of a pent-up demand. So I think people were waiting to place orders at the show. They were getting back into that routine that they've been into for the last 50 years. So I'm really comfortable that our industry is going to bounce back strongly. But we've got a lot of challenges to get through. I feel for the smaller organisers because it's cash coming out of their pocket. And if you've paid for your marketing and someone moves your venue on you, that's lost money.
Oh, what a nightmare
Yeah, it is a nightmare. Yeah.
That would be a huge nightmare. I know. And for small suppliers as well, it's very hard.
Correct.
Because, usually you've got to get your temporary staff in and organised to help you build or help you do something. In our case, whether it's Freeman with the pre-event work or info salons with pre-event work, there is a lot of work that goes in beforehand. But it's hard to try and get money up front when, it may or may not run. And so I think juggling that is real teamwork. And that's why for a long time we've been hoping we can work as a team. But I think now this pandemic has really brought us together as a team. So we can sit down and openly say to each other, to our clients or, the venues, whatever, okay, we need help in this. We need to get these people in now to be able to help you open this event. So I think being able to be honest with each other and open is one of the advantages. I've got to think of advantages of the pandemic, but that's potentially one of them.
Yeah, I think that's a good advantage. And the other advantage that's coming through is the organisers are talking a lot more than they used to.
Yeah.
So we're actually talking about safety. We're talking about the challenges that we face and how are we dealing with that. And it sort of brought the entire community closer together, which is great. And you think about our industry, there's not that many industries that are resilient enough to go through what we've been through. And it says a lot about our staff. It says a lot about our suppliers. It just says a lot about the people that make up our industry. And I think you said it before when you were talking to Claudia. It's the industry is made up of a lot of friends as well. And I think when you've got the friendships and the deep relationships that you build in this industry, fighting something like COVID becomes a little bit easier because you can lean on your partners to help you.
Reach out to each other.
Yeah.
Brian, thank you so much. That was Brian Thomas, our Managing Director and CEO of Read Australia.
And thank you, Joe, and good luck, Doug, with the fundraising.